Training our dogs is a huge part of our lives with them. And I might be biased, but I think it is the thing that we rely on the most with our dogs. It's the thing we go to have fun with our dogs. It's the thing we go to in the time of frustration with our dogs. It's the one thing we consistently need in the relationship we have with our dog to lead an easier, more simplified, and more connected life with them. And even though I do believe all of that, I also believe that we spend a little bit too much time on training, not enough time on meeting our dog's needs. Hi, I'm Ella, I'm a dog trainer and I'm currently studying to become an animal behaviourist. And in this final video of this series, which I titled Meeting Your Dog, where we've been looking at your dog's hierarchy of needs to improve the lives we have with them, we are going to be going over the training needs of our dogs. So far, we've looked at biological needs, emotional needs, social needs, breed or species specific needs, and now we are at the top of our triangle, the training needs. Thinking of training as a need is maybe a bit of a unique perspective, but really, if we don't have clear communication, training and boundaries with our dogs, it makes their life more stressful. The training needs for our dogs are the basic things that they need to survive in the human-centered world. They want to be able to run around off lead, then we need to be able to train them to come back to us. If we want them to live in the human-centered world where jumping up onto people is not socially acceptable, we need to train them to keep all four paws on the floor. Having these training needs met for our dogs is not just about living an easier life with them, it's about them being safe. And just like the other videos in this series, I've broken training needs down into a few different sections, the first of which is mental stimulation. When we're looking at mentally stimulating our dogs, we're looking at whether they have the opportunity to learn new and novel tasks. How often are you teaching your dog new tricks? This might seem small, but if you can start to make training fun for you, we can start to make it fun for your dog. Yes, training needs can focus on whatever it means for that dog, wherever they live and wherever you live, to be accepted socially, but it can also be fun things. Fun skills and learning can be novel or it can be essential, or it can be related to their health. We'll discuss that a little bit further when we get to the handling section of this video. Mental exercise can also look like getting into dog sports. Now, not every dog nor every owner wants to do this. Remember how last video I discussed your dog's hobbies? This can be a part of that. And a reminder that this can also be one of your hobbies. Now, I understand your dog is your baby, your child, your best friend, and we could also treat having our dogs like a hobby. Having your dog and going out and doing things with your dogs can be your me time. It doesn't have to be separate from it. If you have a dog, then you signed up to train that dog. So you might as well treat dog training as one of your hobbies. And of course, when we talk about mental exercise, the most popular sort of mental exercise is enrichment toys. Now, if you're standing up for this, I'm going to ask you to sit down because it might be a little bit controversial. Enrichment toys are great. I love them. I recommend them. I use them all the time. But I want you to start treating your dog's enrichment toys like giving a kid an iPad. The enrichment toy is the equivalent to a toddler's iPad. You wouldn't give it to them all day. You wouldn't give it to them all the time to help regulate them. You would only give it to them in times of regulation when you really needed to, or you would give it to them for educational purposes or for something for them to enjoy. Let's just be really real for a second. If people are coming into the house or there's something stressful going on for your dog and the best thing for them is to give them a stuffed Kong or a lick mat or a snuffle mat, then do it. But let's just be aware that this is not training. We're not solving the issue. We're just like sticking a plaster on it and hoping that it changes. We're kind of like brushing it under the rug and being like, oh, I'll sort that out later. For example, if you give your dog a lick mat every time someone comes into the home, sure, that could be a great way to handle it or manage it, but we are just managing it. We could work on this problem to help our dog feel more confident so they don't have to regulate with another tool and they can learn to self-regulate. I spoke more about the stages of regulation in this video, so if you want to check that out, you can. If anybody wants a specific video on dog regulation, then I am more than happy to create one. Our next section is in the home. This can be basic things like not counter surfing, not chewing up furniture, not weeing in the house, and knowing basic house rules. This can also relate to our social needs. Things like being desensitized to household items definitely comes into this. But essentially, this is knowing the basic household rules, the boundaries that you have for your home. Now, top tip, if your dog's still peeing inside, I have a video on that as well. Jumping on guests, launching themselves at the sofa, not moving when you ask them to get off of something, not be trusted in the kitchen. This is my number one top piece of advice for you. Create a dog room, if not a pen, and have that be their safe space. The thing is, the more you have to take your dog away from something, away from chewing something that you didn't want them to chew, removing things from them, the more you have to drag them outside when they're in the middle of defecating on your living room floor, take them off the kitchen counter, the more it encourages them to do it and do it faster. They're going to be faster the next time they try and get on the counter because they know that you're coming. They're going to be faster next time they rip up the sofa because they know that you're coming. The prevention of the rehearsal of these behaviours is step 1 in training out of them. Having a space, whether that be a room or a pen, where your dog can get into the least amount of trouble possible is how you get those good repetitions in. If there's nothing in the room that they can chew up, then they're not chewing anything up. Now, I cannot go over every single problem and how to train out of them because that takes multiple videos to really get into that. But just knowing, okay, these are my house rules, these are my home rules, and our first step being implementing, not rehearsing, whatever we don't want our dogs to do, is a great place to start. Next, we have out of the home. This is things like being able to visit new places. No, you do not have to take your dog to every cafe or pub. Think about the places your dog wants to visit. Maybe they want to visit a new park. Maybe they would just want to drive somewhere new in the car if they like watching out of the window. Maybe you let them lead you on one walk. Maybe you go somewhere random, park up and just get going. Training needs out of the home also involve things like being okay with other dogs and people. Again, this relates back to our social needs. Having a recall, or where dogs aren't allowed to be let off the lead, the dog knowing how to appropriately work with a long line. Things like not popping at the end of the long line or dragging you along, knowing how to dodge it when they're running around with their friends, etc., etc. Also, allowing your dog to experience novelty outside of the home is really important, and this includes with your old dogs too. I took my 12-year-old dog to see a boat for the first time. Her mind was blown. It was just so funny and so cute, and everyone was watching her watch the boat. So it really doesn't matter how old your dog is. Introducing novelty into their lives is so important, and I truly think that's part of what kept her young. She lived till she was 16 and was a pain in my ass till she was about 15 and a half. So we had a good run. Next, we have handling skills. This one's really important to me, again, especially as a dog ages. We want to be able to brush our dog's teeth. We want to be able to clip their nails. We want to be able to remove ticks from them, God forbid they get one. We want to be able to groom them properly or send them to the groomers. We don't want to be that owner that the groomer has to say, I'm really sorry, we can't groom your dog anymore. Your dog can dislike these things happening to them and still be cooperative. Even basic things like if the dog is an appropriate size, being able to pick them up. If your dog gets injured, how are we going to move them? We can train different things when it comes to husbandry and handling skills. Basic things like, can you touch your dog's feet to dry them off? Maybe you could teach your dog to hold on to something while you brush their teeth so their mouth is already a little bit open. Maybe you could teach your dog to target their nose onto something while you're brushing them so they know to stay still. This way you can also access their whole body. I have seen other dog trainers teach this with the dog lying down, which is really good. I've always preferred the nose target, like a circle on a wall that they have to hold their nose to, just because you've then got access to their whole body. Bucket training also works really well with this. And then we have things like mobility. Strengthening and conditioning our dogs, especially as they get older, could be the difference in a dog who struggles in old age and a dog who is still able to move in their elder years. And finally, we have basic cues. Now, we can teach our dogs novel cues just for the fun of it, but that doesn't mean teaching our basic cues or how we teach our basic cues needs to be boring. Things like them knowing their name. Things like being able to be sent to a safe space, like go to your bed or go to your crate. Basic movement cues like hop it up and get down. A loose lead walk, being able to remove items from them or swap items. Being able to settle, and as time goes on, being able to listen to you in increasingly more difficult environments. And a final section I've put into training because I wasn't totally sure where else to put it, but trying the best that we can to desensitize our dogs to big differences in their daily lives. This could be things like desensitizing them to the sounds of thunder or fireworks, because we know at certain times of year they're more likely to experience those sounds. Things like slowly desensitizing them to Christmas trees when we bring those into the house, or decorations being out. These are all novel experiences for dogs, and if they're not sure how to act around them, all they're going to do is act in their best interest. And sometimes that looks like peeing up a tree because there's a tree in the house. Sometimes that looks like trying to jump up at the barbecue when you have people over because they've never been trained not to and it's a novel thing for them. There are things that we see as normal and that we do irregularly that we're just not going to have the exposure to train our dogs to on a regular basis. So it's important to note when these things are happening for your dog for the first time, or you think they're going to really struggle with it. If your dog already can't be trusted to be in the same room with you when you have food, if you're having a barbecue in the summer or going out to a park in the summer where there's going to be people having picnics, they're probably going to struggle with that. If your dog is already a bit scatty, if they hear a loud noise, they're probably going to struggle with fireworks or with thunder. So let's try and work on that before the fireworks and the thunder create their own negative exposure. These are the things that can take a little bit longer to train because you never know when you're going to find yourself in that situation. That doesn't mean we can't train it or out-train it. It just means that it's probably going to take a little bit more due diligence. And that is how to meet your dog. I wanted to create this video series for so long and kept putting myself off from doing it, kept trying to find excuses. And I've finally done it. And the response has been nothing short of amazing. I really, really hope that the information in these videos has been helpful to you. As always, there is a checklist below if you want to help your dog meet your training needs and want to keep tabs on things. That is in the description. But as always, thank you for watching. Say hi to your dog for me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.